It's recording. Were we not recording the whole time?
Seems like every road you're on is hit a dead end. There is hope. Let me show.
I want to say almost immediately when I landed in Texas, I called both mom and our abuser and said, hey, I can't do relationship right now. I was trying to do like a clean slate. Again, not realizing how much of this chaos was really rooted in our abuser, but I just said, I can't do this. I need to go no contact. I need to figure this out on my own. I don't know what I need, but I know I need to stop this. And I'm pretty sure that drove our abuser crazy. In fact, I've asked mom now in rekindling and everything like that. She remembers a time where after I made that phone call, he was just disgruntled all the time, where mom would be like, hey, have you heard from Ellie? I don't know why she's not talking to me. I don't know. Like, he was obviously mad that he didn't have connection with me, but I want to believe in the psychology of him that it's because he couldn't control the story anymore and couldn't control me anymore, that me deciding to disconnect and try to figure out life on my own was like an alarm in his system of like, she's gonna know the truth. We gotta avoid it or whatever. And I don't know, man.
I just had a memory of yours, but now I forgot it.
Uh-oh.
Because it made me think of one where, because you were talking about Texas, how you moved to Texas, but I had another memory of when you were still geographically up here. And
where you are now?
Yeah, when you moved up for college.
I know there was a time where you and I met at a sushi place and you wanted to talk about a relationship, and I said, I'm not interested.
I don't remember that.
There was some capacity of that where you were like, hey, we need to figure this out. Like, there's something wrong.
Yeah, that sounds like me. That sounds like me.
It was you. And you're like, something is out of the loop. I love you, but this is not okay. And I'm over here like, who are you to talk about this? Because mind you, I'm in this facade of believing the lies. Like, you want to fix this problem? Then you need to fix you, was my point of view. And I said, I'm not interested. In a loving way, I said, I think we're just going to keep butting heads. I don't know how else to fix this.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I think, wasn't there a time, so when you were in college, you and I were in the same we were in the same city.
Yeah.
Essentially. We were in the same city, but we never, like, hanged out a lot, you know. You were doing school and I was working. Wasn't there a time, and I didn't know this until years later, but wasn't there a time where while we were both up in the same city, we weren't having a relationship, nothing, your abuser drove up to see you? And I wasn't part of that whatsoever. I had no idea. I had no one let me know. Not that I would have wanted to see him, but...
No, but you were totally excommunicated of that whole plan.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, no, so it was for my birthday weekend.
Yeah, like what was your thought, like, with something like that, where it's like, my abuser at the time was, you wouldn't have called him that, but it's like, my abuser is gonna drive up 300 plus miles to come see me, and we're just not going to involve my older brother. We're just going to do our own thing. We're in the same
Well, it was
place.
no different than childhood. It was no different. It was the whole belief system
Right.
of you had no interest in relationship with us because, again, it's you and mom. Mind you,
Right.
we're all healed of that now. But the mindset back then was just, Zach's not going to care.
No, I get that. But I guess what my
So-
question is, was in your mind, was I so horrible back then, in your mind, was I so horrible that even after your father was showing signs of physical, emotional abuse, charging at you, going after you? Oh, now I know that now I know the real memory I wanted to talk to you about. I'll get to there in a second, but
Okay.
you see this increase of abuse, and yet I was still the more horrible one to weigh. Like, brother I don't have a relationship with, or choose the one who is clearly showing signs of abusing me. I'm gonna go with that one. Like, what do you have any concept, like, back then of, like, ever having to, like, to think like that? Or were you just like, it doesn't matter, he's my hero, he's my safety net, Zach's the bad one, whatever, it doesn't matter what my abuser does, Zach will always be the bad one? Like, did you ever have thoughts like that? Or was that just too difficult to think about and you just never
It
went
wasn't
there?
too difficult. It wasn't that it was too difficult. It was that our abusers stripped away common sense and
Yeah.
healthy relational connection, that the idea of needing to choose between brother I don't have a relationship with, older brother that I don't have a relationship with, over this person who has shown me time and time again that his behavior is unhealthy, his behavior is stressful and abusive, and yet he had, oh my gosh, it's so nutty.
I know.
It's so
I
nutty.
know. Tell me about it. I know.
Because he it's so stupid. But
No, it's
he
not
trained me
stupid.
so well is what it
I know.
is. He trained me so well to believe, because he was my puppet master, that he was so passionate in reminding me that you, Zach, didn't choose me. You, Zach, left me. That was another tactic that he used, of some fashion, of just saying that he doesn't care about this family. He moved away, which doesn't
Yeah,
make sense
'cause of
because
him.
then I moved up to you.
Well, no, so you're
But-
absolutely right, and that was the memory that I wanted to bring up, where, and you'll know once I start talking about it. I'll talk
Okay.
about my recollection of it,
Okay.
and then you tell me what happened. So
I
I'll set
almost
the
snuggled up to my
picture.
blanket.
Mom drove up to come visit me for our birthdays. It was 2016.
Oh, your birthdays. That's right. Your birthdays are the same. Yours and
Yeah,
hers.
even if they were different dates, it was coming up for our birthdays.
Right.
And so we're doing our own thing. We literally went to go get a massage. Okay.
Yes,
And then
I remember now.
We get back in the car. We're like knocked out because getting an hour plus long massage knocks you out. And
Yeah.
then you call mom on the phone while I'm driving to get us back to where I live. The whole reason I bring up this memory is because your abuser, I almost said father, your abuser was going after you and told you that you were being just like me. As a Zach's bad, what you are doing, little daughter, is pulling with something that your older brother would do and has done. And if you continue to do this, you're going to be just like him. It was almost like a warning. It was for one to shame you to stop doing and reacting the way that you were reacting. But it was also to remind you how bad I was. And if you want to be good, don't be like him. But you talk about that situation because I know about it, but that's another layer to, this was like probably when you were like 16, 17, still in high school, still like your senior year.
Yeah.
You were, that was a big thing that I remember when I heard about it, I was like, holy crud, that's not good. You
Well,
know, because I never thought he would do something like that to you.
right. No, I don't remember that 100%. If you don't mind, I'll answer this and I'll go back to talking about him visiting me for my birthday because that's a trip as well. No pun intended. Haha. Um, that story that you're recalling right now, that was that season of what I was just sharing, that he just went to the extreme and he was attacking me
Mm-hmm.
verbally, emotionally, and then ended up that physical dominance thing where he didn't physically abuse me, but he used his physical body to scare
Right.
me. Anyway,
Right.
but that was in that season where honestly all I remember was that I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. So I called mom and I'm crying and sobbing at her. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. Like all of those things happening at the same time. And she's trying to calm me down and I can't calm down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. The
it was like
context was you were trying to leave the house. You were
oh my
trying to.
gosh. So he would trap me in the house when
Yeah.
that was, I forgot about that. He would trap me in the house, meaning like again, I was a freaking probably 150-pound, if no more than that, skinny twig looking thing against a 300+ pound, 6 foot father person. He wasn't a father while he was trying to trap me in the house, but like
Yeah.
he I don't even know what the term is. He wasn't physically abusive where he put his hands on me type of thing. He was using his body as a dominance to overpower me, to remind me that I have no power in this and
Yeah.
that
It's called a
he would
threat.
oh
It's called
sure
being.
threat.
He was physically threatening, even though he never. You
Yeah.
in a court of law could never ever prove that he laid a hand on you. He would still react in a way as a threat, as if he were going to do it.
So what's being revealed right now is just that heaviness because I've forgotten that story and I'm laughing because I'm trying not to cry and I'm already crying. So, oops.
No, go for it. It don't. It's you're not supposed to suppress that stuff. That's why you don't
No,
remember it. You
I
know.
know. So thanks for reminding the thing to not
You're
suppress, but like
welcome.
it's just he was so in that episode he was so it literally popped off out of nowhere. Like nothing condoned him to react in such a way or block a door or I don't even remember I don't remember, but like I was just trying to get out of the house. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I have a
All I
car.
know is that
I
there was
can
a
get out of
fight.
this.
Yeah,
There was a
there was an
fight.
argument that you were having, and you felt like, okay, I'm just gonna go. Let me just leave. You had a car. Let me just
Right.
go and get out.
But
And he
like
wouldn't let you.
my train of thought was literally in this season, like I have a car, I have my keys, I have my phone and my wallet, I have my basic
Mm-hmm.
needs, like I can go right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to live in a life where I needed to have the basic necessities on me at all times, and I realize now I still do that, where I make sure I have everything in my pockets. I don't carry a purse because that's an extra thing, but like I have all the
Ellie,
things on me.
I had the
Yes.
same mindset growing up as a teenager. I always had my wallet, my ID, my debit card, my cell phone, my keys on me in my pockets at all times. So in case I ever needed to escape and run away, I could. Or
The
at least
thing
I
was
could
is
at least I
that
had a head start so that way
you
if I
didn't need to
was
run and get
freaking
it.
out, I wasn't just
Yeah.
going blind, going where is this? I can't leave now, you know. I even
Right.
had a secret backpack that I would put clothes in and stuff. So just in case I needed to sleep in my car or just drive out of town.
Yeah.
Granted, I was 16, 17, but I had the same thoughts of like a preparedness escape plan just in case.
The thing is that I tried, and he wouldn't let me. And
Yeah.
I couldn't fight him. I couldn't attack him. But he wouldn't let me leave. And
Like, was he blocking the door, like, in front of you? Like he was, like, keeping the door shut so you couldn't open it? Or was he just,
that
like...
he if I remember correctly, it was either that or he was also physically just in front of me, and if I tried to move, he would adjust very
Oh,
quickly.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
mind you, like my eye level was like his neck or his
Mm-hmm.
shoulder or something like that too. So
Mm-hmm.
that psychological looking up and realizing I
Yeah.
can't leave, like there was so many threats in that, and I just what can I do? I can't call 911 on him. Like at
Yeah.
least it felt like I couldn't, because what are they going to do? You know?
Right.
I
Right.
couldn't call our counselor, or I probably tried to call our counselor. But that, golly, I don't realize how much that wound really was, where he really wanted to let me know that he is bigger than me, he has more power than me, physically wise, and he is a mastermind, and he is always going to win, so to speak, over me. And
Yeah.
I want to believe that phone call that we're talking about, I want to believe mom told me to put, sorry, blurb that out, to put him on the phone, put the
Yeah, she
abuser on the
did.
phone,
She did.
and she told him, let her leave. Do I,
She,
what was that?
well, granted, we're driving, I'm driving in pouring rain, right? While we're, like,
Okay.
incapacitated from a massage. And she doesn't have him on speaker, but she did tell you to put him on the phone, and she said, "What is wrong with you?
Mm.
What is your problem?" And I don't remember if you left that day. The only details I know, and this wasn't because I found out at the time, it was just later down the road. My recollection of that story was you were trying to leave, you were in an argument, you tried to leave, he was preventing you one way or the other. And in that moment, you you broke down, like, emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
and you were crying, and you were, I want to say he told you, if you leave, you're being just like Zach. You're just going to be like Zach and just leave. You're just going to go. And if I remember correctly, you responded being like, "You're treating me like how you treat mom."
Oh, I did
And
say that.
then our little brother, who was also gaslit and brainwashed at that time, came up to you, put his hands on your shoulder, and said, "Ellie, you're being crazy. Stop it." So, like, he made
I don't
you...
remember our younger brother doing that then. There was a different scenario where he did that.
you
But
we were oh, it was a different
it was the
scenario, because
last
I...
fight I had where our
No, no,
younger
no,
brother
no,
said something similar, but it's very
no, no, no.
possible that I just
He's...
forgot that detail.
I think, well, because that's what you had told me. You had told me
Oh,
he may not
if
have
I
put his
told you.
hands on you, but he told you, like, "You're being crazy right now. Like,
Oh, you're right. You're right.
you're
Um,
being like
you
you're being
remember
too
it better than
much."
me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, granted, it was happening all at once, but then I don't know if this was the same memory and the same story, but I know eventually, once upon a time, if it wasn't this circumstance, it was another one, you went to go spend the night at your grandparents' house, because to escape the trauma and escape the drama. I don't know if it was the
Oh,
same day. You may have just
it was the
left and
same
driven.
timeline. It
Yeah,
was the
like, it was
same
the same
timeline.
season for sure.
Yes. Where I had texted our grandpa and I said, "Are you awake?" And him being grandpa, being funny and lighthearted, He said something funny, and I just texted him, "Can I come over?" Because mom was in the house in that specific memory you're pulling up, where I came up to her and I said, I'm sleeping over at their house. And she's like, "What? Why? What's going on?" Because she is trying to protect our house image. And I left, and mom's telling me, if they ask you, just tell them that there was a fight and you got scared, which was true, but that was such a dumbified version that minimalized the situation to protect the image. And yeah, I not the same event, different time, but there was an argument, and yeah. So, but I think this is a great segue for me to talk about my last fight that I had, if you're okay with that.
No, yeah, you can. I mean, yeah, go for it. I mean, if you have it now, so go ahead and you have it fresh in your mind, so yeah, go for it.
Right. Well, because that was the last time I saw him in person, and like since then it's been like a Zoom call in front of a counseling person or whatever, but like, so that just amplifies my memory even more so of recollecting, remembering these other instances where, fast forward, oh gosh, I'm gonna quickly talk about backstory in this, where I was in Texas after so many months after telling my parents I don't want a relationship or I don't want this anymore. I ended up calling my mom and telling her, of course, keeping out other important details that we'll mention at a later time. I ended up calling my mom and telling her I'm homeless, I'm living out of my car, I have so much debt, and I can't buy food right now. Like, I've been starving myself. And she bought a one-way ticket and met me in Dallas, and we drove back. And in that car ride... Oh, nah. Sorry, you don't know the city. Haha. Drove back to California. Can I say that?
Of course. No, that's fine.
Anyway, so Texas to California. And the Lord took over that car ride. One, we ended up crying the entire ride, so I'm thankful we're still in one piece and no car accident, no nothings. But that was when reality broke, where the Lord had revealed that what I've been living was utter chaos and not the entire truth. And in fact, healed my relationship with mom right then and there. So I could talk to her and ask her, was this the truth? Was that the truth? I remember this story. I remember that story. So similarly, how you and I have talked in rekindling our relationship, I was like, this is what I remember. No, this is what happened, type of thing. And times 28 hours or however long it took. So just a flip of a switch, what I thought I've known for 20 plus years that my abusive father has said to me or made me believe or whatnot is not the truth. So I'm coming back to this household where I lived with mom, dad, and younger brother in this house. I moved back into this house, and I'm just in this different kind of chaos where I don't know how to have a relationship with you, because now I realize you've been lying to me for 20 years. How do I have a relationship with you? Do I have a relationship with you? How can we go about this? So I'm trying to talk to him, having counseling sessions with him, and discussing, like, you've been lying to me all my life. I don't know what you're talking about. I can't pinpoint it, but you've told me this thing or that thing, and that's not the truth. Well, I don't remember that. And then just that chaos that you see on social media of trying to talk to a narcissistic person, and they're always going to be like, hands off, I didn't say that, or I don't remember that at all, or whatever. So that times what? I came back August or so, and 6-8 months of just trying to do this back and forth thing. And the last time I saw him was an argument that he decided to have with me. I don't remember what happened for him to just pop off, but he was getting really frustrated with me. I think part of it's been that, like, I started removing myself and maintaining any kind of relationship or connection with him. And just pieces by pieces, like, I can't do this. Like, we need to have this relationship based on my terms right now, not on your terms anymore.
You were having, and I know this just because you were slowly revealing some stuff to me at that time, of just having conversations of challenging him, telling him that he was wrong, telling him that he's lying or not being genuine or whatever. But
and he was getting mad during that too.
Well, like, so, like, you came back, and we'll talk about this later. We don't have to get, like, we want to save some details for other stuff. So we don't want to just jam-pack it all here. But what caused the argument, and this was a build-up of just, like you said, like, 8 months of you being in the house, you being different, you not being the same person that he was manipulating before. You were listening to worship music, trying to make lunch in the kitchen.
Okay, I remember now. Can I take over?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. So yeah, that's right. I was listening to worship music.
I like how I have more memories of your story.
Well, because you're healed and remember it better than me, versus while I'm not healed. Well, yeah. I don't know. I don't know the science 100%, but now I remember it. So hold on.
All right, go for it. I'm ready.
I'm making myself some sort of breakfast sandwich thing. And I wanted to play worship. So, Abuser and younger brother are in the living room, which is just across the ways. There's no walls blocking sound or anything like that, but it's across the ways. It's far enough. They're playing something on the TV. I'll play some worship on my phone at less than half volume. It's not going to be loud, you know? So I'm playing worship and I'm doing making my breakfast stuff, and I didn't know this, but you know how we mentioned the other episode where you can tell footprints and notice that someone's walking around? I heard nothing, and all of a sudden, music stopped. Every once in a while, my phone glitches, or there's an ad that happens, so I go look for my phone. I can't find my phone. I know it was there. No one moved it. And then I turned around again, and this is where the physical threat comes into play, because then I turn around. I forgot which way I turned. I turned to my left. My phone wasn't there. And I continued turning left. And there he was, and saying something along the lines of, "Who do you think you are?" But
he's like, what? Right there in front of your face. He's not like feet
right
away.
Here. He's like right here. So
he's like in your personal bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like the horror movies that, like, when you're turning, no one's there, and you turn again and bah, someone's right there type of thing. Right. He was right there and saying something along the lines of, "Who do you think you are?" And I took a step back saying, like, "What do you mean? You can't just be playing music whenever you want." I said, "Okay, like, got it." Like, I don't know what you want me to do. And somehow it just escalated from there, where he's just like, "I just don't understand why you think you can do whatever you want in this house." As I'm just trying to make myself breakfast. Like, I don't know what do you mean? And and he just exploded into, "You're just doing whatever you want. I don't understand the relationship anymore. You're doing all these things. You're changing the rules. You're doing this," and just pointing it back at me. And in my head, I'm like, what do I do here? Like, mind you, I'm still going to counseling sessions, trying to heal my stuff.
I'd be eating my breakfast sandwich as he's like going on a tirade.
It was still cooking. It was still cooking. I couldn't. But like, I'm just like, what do I do? I don't understand. And like, there just came a point where I stopped. I turned off the stove. I was able to put the food away. But at this point, I don't have an appetite. And I said, fine, whatever. And I grab my stuff, put everything away. I go down the hallway. I find Mom, and I go to her. And as I opened the door and I saw her, I just started sobbing. I'm trying to talk. I can't. I'm like lost for words, and I just instantly start crying. And I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, while I'm trying to talk and speechless at the same time, we hear the abuser down the hall getting aggro, and you can hear his footprints going back and forth, pacing and whatnot. And mom was just like, let's just go get your breakfast, like, and just eat it in your room. Okay, I'll do that. And then I have to go back out near him to go get the things. And I try to go out. He blocks me at the end of the hallway, and he gets even more aggro. I don't understand who you think you are. You're changing the rules, and I guess I'm doing all the wrong. I guess I'm just the bad guy. I guess I'm like, he just going irate and back and forth, saying something. I can't say anything. He's just in this Rolodex of saying all the things just to get all the things out. And I decided to not be silent anymore, and I decided to verbally fight him back, of just like, you're the one that's doing all this crap. Like, you're the one that's doing this to me. And the only thing I remember actually saying to him is I said, you're pathetic. And
oops.
Yes, very oops. Very oops.
I mean, my oops, well, that did it. Can only, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
He then said, what did you say to me? He's like inching closer. I said, you're pathetic. And he said, say it again. Say it one more time. I said, you're pathetic. Like, I'm yelling it at him at this point. And that just fueled his fire of just this irate, this is nonsense, this is horrible. Like, we're not, the volume that I'm speaking right now is not the volume at all that we were at. I was yelling at him. I was screaming at him. I was sobbing, and it was bonkers. And after the third time I said that you're being pathetic, he took a step back, and he is punching the couch. He's punching the chairs. He is just going at it. And mom tries to step in, so she's behind me in the hallway. I step out a little bit because, hey, he gave some distance, so I'm a step out of the way. Mom's stepping up. She's trying, I don't know if she was speaking into this or not, but I just looked at her, and I'm continuing to cry, and I just leave. I don't leave the vicinity. The kitchen has the back door to our backyard, so I went through the kitchen and into the backyard. I forgot. There is a point on my phone, because my phone was on me. I just decided to start recording, because I got in the habit of start recording because I may forget this type of thing. And so I start recording. At some point, I think this is the point when mom was trying to talk to Chris while I'm in the house, and then there's a point I just left. And
yeah, you're right. You're right. I say that because I've watched the video with you. And you're right. So, you were like in the entryway of the kitchen dining room, and your mom was like maybe 7 feet in front of you, was like telling him to stop it. And then our younger brother got involved, trying to calm him, the abuser, down, because he was just yelling and screaming.
Yes, and then there was a point when trying to talk. Sorry, bleep. Where our younger brother was trying to talk to me, and I was telling him, "You have no business to talk to me right now. How dare you talk to me?" Because at this point, I believe, if I remember correctly, I was trying to maintain a relationship with him. I was living in the house with him. I have a text message saying, I notice our relationship is different. Yeah, I noticed that too. I'd like to work on that. And he said, no, thank you. So he's already established he doesn't want a relationship with me. And I was getting mad and frustrated that he's trying to talk to me. This is the most he's talked to me in person since I've gotten back. And he's like, Ellie, you need to calm down. I'm talking to him. You have no business to talk to me right now. I can't deal with you right now. And he says, well, who's the one crying right now? And lost it. If not there, moments after, I decided to leave the kitchen into the backyard. I go to the backyard. I am screaming of all the rage and all of the frustration, and I can't do anything. Like, if I went inside like a rage room type of scream. And
Right.
then I also screamed, this is why I want to kill myself. Because I was suicidal at this timeline too, of just, this is awful. This is not the way to live.
Yeah,
And
you were having suicidal thoughts. You weren't at a point where you were trying it, but you would get to a mindset of like, if I had to choose to physically be here on Earth or not, I would rather choose not, because that's how depressed and toxic it was for you to be back at the house.
Right. And my counselor before this, we had a session, and she mentioned, if I were to label what you're going through right now, you're depressed, you're experiencing general anxiety, but I know I was having suicidal thoughts as well. But I was yelling in this whole episode, this is why I want to kill myself. Mm-hmm. And then simultaneously, I didn't know this coherently, but our abuser was also chasing me. As I left, I zoomed out, but he was chasing me. And I realized, I looked up and younger brother was blocking him so he didn't get to me.
Yeah.
So as much as our younger brother is not in a relationship with either of us, I know there's a heart in him for wanting to protect me or mom, who are defenseless and can't do anything.
Yeah.
I love him so much, and I know he has an amazing heart, and I know he's hurting right now. But I also know that he's trying to search the truth. And I know, I look back at this instance where I didn't know it at the time. I didn't realize it at the time, but he was trying to protect me. Even though I didn't know how to handle this, he was trying to protect me.
And the sad part about that is, while that's all happening, and our younger brother is trying to protect his father from hurting his sister, you.
Yeah.
Our brother was so... I mean, he was and currently still is brainwashed to the point where he blamed our mom for our abuser's attack on you. And our mother was not in the room. She did not instigate. She was not part of any conversation. Yet he still holds her responsible for whatever reason, still holds her responsible for that whole thing. And we only know that because he told her. you know, and so it's like, in the midst of that, it's like, from an outsider, when you talk about that and you put that on paper, it's like, this is so deep rooted that someone can watch person A go after person B and protect person B from person A and blame person C for it.
Yeah.
Or hold that person C is the whole reason why he went after person B. And you're just like, and it's sad, because when you've talked about it, I know when I've talked about it with other people, it makes people so confused. They're like, why would he think that? What? And you're just like, you have no answer. You're just like, it's just the abuse. We're not taught. We did not come from an abusive situation that was just surface level name calling, whatever. No. This is deep rooted chaos, and with that, with your story, you had called me after that, after you're in the backyard, after you've not calmed down, but you're at least not being triggered.
I'm not hyperventilating.
You had called me and I was about to go on stage to play music for worship for the church at the time. And that's when I was like, I can't take this right now. I'm literally about to go on. What's up? And you were like, can I spend the night?
Yeah.
And I was like, sure. I didn't know why. I had no idea why, but I was like,
Sure.
yes, you can.
You didn't.
And then
You didn't
Mom
know what transpired until like a couple days later, if not like the day after.
Me?
You.
No, you came and spent the night. What had happened was Mom had texted me saying, "Hey, there was a fight. Your sister is probably going to reach out to ask if she can spend the weekend or spend a few days."
Yeah.
And I just responded back, and I was like, I don't know if she's still. Oh, because Mom was like, she's probably gonna go drive for a little bit. She's not gonna go directly to the house, just in case like he tries to follow her, you know. But
Yeah.
she was like, Ellie's gonna go off and drive for a little bit, go cool off, whatever. But she's gonna plan to come to your house later. And I just said, I don't know if Ellie has left yet, but have her take her work uniforms and bring a few days of
Right.
clothes at least, because if it was a fight, I don't think it's good for her to go back, you know.
Yeah.
And I think you probably stayed for a little bit less than a week, and then you went back.
No, I stayed one night, and then the next day Mom had texted me saying that, hey, if you're wanting to get things, he's not at the house. And I just grabbed everything.
Yeah.
I grabbed everything. And at that time
And I was like, I guess you're moving in.
Yeah,
I
didn't run it by you. Sorry.
No, but and you didn't tell me the nitty-gritty details. I don't even think at that point it registered in your mind that you had a video of it on your phone, because you were just still in numbness mode of everything happening.
Yes.
But I knew enough that something bad happened, enough for you to leave. Context, you and I up until that point were going back and forth, where I was like, you probably should stop trying to have a relationship with him. And you were like, no, but I know that if I could do X, Y, and Z, or I know that if I just try, or I'm just trying to get him to see stuff. And I was like, good luck. But
Right.
if you're choosing to stay, you know, good luck. Because that's a hard...
That was without knowing my current counseling sessions and what we were going through too.
No, you were still going through it, but you still had so much hope that he would get healed despite his treatment of you. And so for me, I knew if my sister, who has this stance of, I know he's toxic, I know he's abused me, I know he's brainwashed me, but I'm still going to try and see how I can help him get to a path of recovery. And I was like, okay, I don't have that stance, but go for it. And I knew that if there was a fight big enough that you had to retreat, I was like, oh yeah, something bad happened. And she does. I knew enough where I was like, her whole world has crumbled right now. Her whole truth, her whole hope is just at the bottom of the ocean right now. So let's just get her in. Let's just move her in, and, you know, we'll figure this out as we go, I guess, you know. But yeah, you're right. I remember you were there on a Sunday, you went home because Mom called you or told you, and you came back with clothes, at least like clothes and stuff that you needed. And I was like, oh, okay.
What I was going to clarify was that at this time, because I left Texas so abruptly, I left everything but clothes in Texas in a storage unit. So I literally only had clothes. I didn't have furniture. I didn't have appliances of any sort. I had nothing. So,
well, I mean, like, you have laptops.
For that. Well, but like, thank God for that storage unit in Texas, because I wouldn't be able to move everything that I had in Texas from that house over here if that was how it panned out. But yeah, I had my laptop and I had a like random little things like that. But like, I literally grabbed everything and I grabbed everything and I came back and I remember Our abuser wasn't at the house when I went in and dealt with
Mm-hmm.
all that. If anything, he showed up on the tail end when I was leaving. And I want to think that I remember seeing mom sitting on the couch, and it wasn't necessarily that it was emotional or anything, but it was just like, bye. Like, I don't know what it meant for my relationship with mom and I, because our relationship was healed and healing still, because I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
go through the motions with her, but now I know the truth of how
Mm-hmm.
he's abused me. Now I know her truth then.
Right.
And it felt like leaving mom behind. And then there's these two dogs at home. I love them and I miss them, and I'm surprised they're still alive because they're very, very old. But like, I had to let go of
Mm-hmm.
everything. And that's where I, in your terms, broke up with my abuser, because I I couldn't, not necessarily stand him anymore. It was more of, I cannot deal with the lies anymore. I think you said it perfectly, of just everything broke. That broke every idea of hope and
Mm-hmm.
prayer that I had at that time for his healing. Every once in a while, I still pray for his healing, but for me being so consumed into trying and working on this relationship, like,
Mm-hmm.
everything broke. And then I did a follow-up with my counselor. This is what happened. This is how it panned out. And I don't remember if I shared her that video or not, but
I think you did.
probably over email or something like that.
No, we did because, and we'll have to talk about details later because there's so much
Sure,
we can
that's
get
fine.
into.
That's
But
fine. Yeah,
that'll pivot to uh, a future episode. But
that's fine. Yeah.
you, even in the midst of what had happened and what caused you to leave, you, for a while, still had hope that he could change and be healed. And I
I
say
was having
that
a hard time with
yeah.
what life would be without hoping. So I was on the
Oh
fence
yeah.
more at that point.
No, you were, well, you were still going to therapy. You were still doing some counseling sessions with him, and you,
No, I only went to one more after
well,
that.
no, but you at least were showing up to the counselor with, let's just say, if you had no hope and if everything was broken, you wouldn't have even tolerated the sound of his voice for an hour-long session. So there was still some sense of, could there be, maybe, let's see what happens. So there was still a certain level of, I won't say hope, but there was still a certain semblance of like, who knows, maybe the counselor will say something, maybe God will intervene and change his heart, maybe I'll say
Yeah.
the right, like, there was still something there where you weren't taking ownership, but you still had a sense of, maybe something, who knows, I have nothing to lose, let me try. But you and I would go back and forth on that a lot, and I forget why I'm bringing this up. It was something that you had just said and it triggered a memory. um
Well, I was just, you were
but
also making the comment about how this is definitely for a future episode, where I had
mhm.
mentioned about how I shared the video to our
Oh
counselor.
yes,
There you
yes,
go.
yes, because you sent it to her,
Uh-huh.
and with the hope and intention that she would send it to him and make him watch it. And you and
Oh,
I
yeah.
would get into arguments because I was like, what do you think's going to happen here? Like, he's going to look at it and he's not going to take accountability. And you still had enough hope because your responses to it was, well, no one's held him accountable before. No one's recorded him before. No one has shown him
Oh,
what he's
yeah.
like.
I forgot
So
about that.
maybe if he sees this, this will finally click. And I'd be like, okay, good luck.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. And I don't say that in a mean, critical way. It was just, here I am as someone who, and again, we'll have to talk about this at a later time, even though we're talking about it now. But like here is me, someone who has said goodbye to this guy for 10 plus years. I've moved you into my home. And at that point too, our mother left and moved into my home as well, despite being 2 blocks away from the house, his house, Buser's house, our home, our former home. And both of you are going through your own processing, your own trying to make sense of stuff. And I'm just like, okay,
just
like
detoxing,
I would try to help process, but I would get roadblocked from your guys' processing, you know? And I eventually just had to get to a point where I'm like, they're not asking for my advice. They're not asking for my feedback. They're not asking for anything. If this is what they want to do, if this is the route that they want to take, if this is the hope they want to have, that's on them. I already know my stance. I already know how far or how far I'm willing to go in terms of relationship with the abuser, but you and I would have some pretty candid talks and challenging talks with each other where we would combat a little bit, not fight, but I would challenge you and you wouldn't get happy with me a lot. And it took I would say about a year before you and I were able to really heal our relationship with you being in my house,
No, it wasn't a year. It wasn't a year. It was sooner than that because it wasn't a year. I know it wasn't a year because I couldn't no, it wasn't a year. All that to say no.
It was a while. It was you and it didn't mean that we were still how we were a long time ago, but there was still a lot of residual issues because and again we'll talk about this at a later time, but the fact that it was me, mom, and you living in my house, you were having the detox of being angry with mom and I, because we would talk, we would do our own thing, and you would feel left out and you'd be like, I'm being triggered because all the lies that I was taught to believe. So we would make progress, but there was a lot of internalized fighting and conflict that we would have with each other. And it did take us a bit. It wasn't soon. It took us a while before we could even be able to talk about difficult things like this. And no one would get defensive or no one would be like, I can't talk about this right now. It was such a sore subject, and because of that, and you and I are different people. We process information differently. And, so there was a routine that we had to get to, but even all in the midst of all of that, you broke away and you moved in, and it even took you a while to feel like you were safe, because you were just like, I'm in limbo. Like, I'm in my brother's house and I don't know what to do and I don't know how long I'm going to be here. And you had your own journey to go through, and we'll talk about that at a later time. But all this is to say is that, your world came crashing down so quickly.
Yeah.
My story. Still. Well, yeah, absolutely. Because my story, like I said, I was not given the luxury. It's not a luxury. I wasn't given the curse of being brainwashed. I knew that I was enemy and I was disliked and hated from the beginning. I had no confusion as to where I was placed and how I was seen by our abuser. You, even in the midst of the conflict and you stepping away, and we'll get to that the next time you talk about your story, you still had a relationship with the guy. Like, you weren't like you weren't like, I don't not see you as my father. I just see you as my father who did some really bad things, and let's move forward, you know? And so, and your reality, like the truth came at you supernaturally. It
Yeah.
wasn't like this long conversation where you're like, all right, mom and Zach, let's go to therapy and let's combat this and let's figure this out. Like it was just, it all hit you at once.
It
And in
did.
the midst of that, you were like, now I have the truth. Now what do I do with it? And how do I get the person who hurt me and abused me? How do I get them to change? What do I say or do to go in a positive direction?
Right. Just
And
what do I
and
do
and that
with
was
all
and that was
this?
recent. That was
Yeah.
literally almost 2 years ago. And so
Yep.
I have a lot of compassion, and I try to have a lot of grace and mercy with you, because you didn't realize this like when you were a young teenager. You realized this when you were like 25,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I did.
And that's not that long ago. And you're still
Mm-mm.
dealing with the ramifications of that. You're still dealing with, you know, you're still dealing with it. It's still raw, you know?
Yeah.
And so, um, kudos to you for the spot that you're at now. We're able to talk about it, and you have the stance that you have, because it's hard. And then our younger brother is the age, or yeah, he's the age now that you had your foundation crumble down, and he's still stuck.
Yeah.
And so it's just, there's a lot going on in our family. There's a lot going on in terms of just where we're at with stuff. And
Yeah.
you, case in point, you still had to, I might have a longer, uh I might be able to claim that, I've dealt with this longer and I've broken away for a longer time, but it still took me years to be able to be free from him.
Yeah.
Even after breaking up with him, like I was 17 when I finally came to terms that this was abusive. I wasn't 19 by the time I'm like, okay, I've processed this, I'm good, I need to go my own way. Like you did it all in like a year and a half. And you're
Yeah.
going, so like I might have a long track record of like learning how to do life away from him, and doing that on my own. But I did not have a short flip of, I now have the truth, this is where I'm at, and I'm going in a positive direction like that. So you have that on me, and so kudos to you for like being able to be in a point where you can still experience this, and you're still not at like level 2 or level 3 of the mourning process of
Right.
just like, what do I do? Like your healing was fast track, mine was not,
Really.
so like, huh?
Really is my question
Well,
on my healing versus your healing. Not that it's to compare notes, but just to realize that that length is different.
let's talk about it at a future episode, because we're now
That's
at
fine.
like an hour 50 minutes of a podcast.
So we should probably stop this one.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah, we
staying
should-
along, people who have listened this far.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And thanks, Ellie, for sharing your story. Thanks for going back and having to recall difficult things. They're not easy, and there's always pain waiting for that.
Yeah.
Because it's not not painful. It's not traumatic.
Right.
So thank you for sharing your abuse story. And it's our hope and prayer is that it will change lives and allow other people to realize that they have had a similar story, and
They
don't
can
have
break
to
away
settle
too.
yeah, well, we don't have to settle for abuse.
Mm-mm.
Is there anything else you want to add before we depart?
No, it just, if anything, the Lord didn't design us to endure abuse and trauma. And that's why I said you can break away too. Um, if it was your spouse or something, I don't know what that looks like, but like, we're not designed to. God doesn't call us to stay in the abuse for if there's an opportunity for freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
there's more to learn in the episodes to come. Obviously, we kept teasing into future episodes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's obviously more than just the trauma in one story. But there's an unlearning process. There's a healing process. There's
Mm-hmm.
what is the truth now. That mixed in with the church for those who are in the Christian environment, for those who just are not connected with that at all. What does that look like? And what does it feel like? I'm pretty sure Zach's experience is different than my experience, and how's that panned out. But I'm excited for the next episodes because so far every episode has been a new thing. Granted, my memory sucks, but it's been a healing aspect for me. I don't know if it's been anything healing for you, but it's been a healing aspect for me to be thankful for this podcast, not only for speaking freedom into others, but there's further freedom healing happening as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if it's been healing for me, but what I will say is there's a reason why we're supposed to share our story. And part of it is not just for other people, but the other part is that it causes us to have to go back and remember. And we as people are really good at ensuring we don't remember. We're really good at being busy and being bogged down by work and commitments and schedules and everything, where we don't give time to honor what we went through. And so us doing this podcast causes the both of us, I'll just speak for myself, it causes me to have to go back and confront memories and assess how accurate is it, you know, but to relive it. And even though it's painful, it's still important and good to do, because remembering is what keeps us safe.
Yeah.
Remembering is what keeps us accountable. It's what keeps us it's good to remember what abuse is. It's not fun to remember what it is, but it's important.
Yeah.
It's important to cry and remember what it feels like to be emotional. It's important to laugh. You know, it's important for all of that.
Yeah.
And I think us having to go back down through memory lane, you know, it's one of the best things I ever read. It was from Alice Mills, and I'll talk about her in our next episode, because she was the one who got me the help that I needed in order to confront my abuse. But she has a blog post. I don't know why I'm getting emotional about it, because it's her story. I know that she's someone who endured spousal abuse. And I think she talks about the power of remembering. And, you know, she's like, what does that mean? She goes, it means that, like, why did my former husband, why did he make me get rid of my dog? Why did I have to get rid of my dog? It was because one time when I was bathing, he came in, held the dog in his arm and a gun in the other, and said, you know, if you don't get rid of this dog, I'm going to kill it, you know. And she's like, he didn't put his hands on me. He didn't hit me. But I have to remember that.
Yeah.
And with that, she says, I have to be I choose to be friends with sadness.
Yeah.
And I don't have to pretend that I don't recognize her when she's there. She says, you know, I don't have to pretend that I don't know her.
Yeah.
All I have to do is recognize that she's at my front door. I welcome her in, and when it's time for her to go, I let her go. But that is what happens when we remember. Is we're flooded with all these things, and we don't have to pretend that we don't feel them. We just have to feel.
Yeah.
We have to acknowledge it. And that's one of my beefs that I have with the church. I really dislike the verse in Jeremiah that a lot of people like to use that say that the heart is evil and wicked and deceitful. Because while that word does translate to heart, the ancient Hebrews, that word actually means your mind. It doesn't mean not your seat of emotion. It actually means like your soul. Like that's what that word means. And we can go into that a different day. But the Lord did not give us a heart to fight against. The Lord gave us a heart to feel and to experience the whole spectrum of human emotion, you know? And that's what I think is so good about this podcast, is that it requires both of us to have to go down that road, not because we want to vacation there, but it's important to remember where we came from and what things were like, so that way we don't settle and go back to that again, you know? So, with that, you know, next episode is going to be me talking about actually confronting the abuse and recognizing it and what that process took, what it looked like, what I had to go back and reevaluate and reassess from normal to abuse, you know. So that'll be our episode for next week, or next time we record at least. So thank you everybody for listening to our story. Hopefully it meant something for you guys, and hopefully it ministers to you. And sorry we cried, but some things are worth crying about, you know. So we'll catch you next time. Oh gosh, 2 hours. We've been recording for 2 hours. What a podcast.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.